In a world of confusion and lies, guys, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. There's so much going on around the world, and I'm going to get to a guest here in just a second. Our guest, Stephen Mosier. Guys, I want you to understand, I truly do believe this. Whether you like President Trump or not, actually doesn't really matter to me. I want to make something emphatically clear. The world hates us. The world wants to take us down, or many people in the world, many countries in the world, particularly China. And President Trump, when he said America first, I don't think that mean America. I never thought that meant America sitting a duck. I thought it meant China last. And I think that's exactly what President Trump is doing now. Obviously, he wants to take care of people domestically, and that's fine as well. He's going to do that. I know that's what everybody wants right now. It's the economy, stupid. I got it. That's what we really have to hit hard heading into the 2026 elections. But guys, let me tell you something. The Biden administration left this world in a mess, and the world was starting to reshape our allies, even the global the global economy, our foes, our allies. Everything was being shifted because America was sinking. All right, and President Trump, just just using sheer American power, is bringing America back. And Stephen Mosier, I mean, I love reading. I love reading his work. What we've seen with President Trump as far as foreign policy is concerned, Stephen Mosier, and welcome to the show. By the way, I really appreciate you coming on. I know it was a little bit of hard left with the tech stuff, and I get it, Stephen, because I'm the same way. But I'm talking to the president of the Population Research Institute and the author of The Devil and Communist China and the Bully of Asia. He knows his stuff when it comes to Asia and foreign policy. Stephen Mosier, welcome to the program.
It's good to be here with you again, Carl.
Stephen, like before I even get to your article, and I encourage every single. Actually, I will make sure that I tweet it out. But that I want to make sure that everybody reads this article. It's entitled "With Close Allies, Iran and Venezuela in Crisis, China is Scrambling to Save Energy and Face." Now, this is very important because we're gonna, if you don't mind, Stephen, I like to go through this methodically so that people, the listeners, can understand. There's a lot of people that might say, you know what, I never thought President Trump would be a neocon. Oh, Carl, you're a neocon. And I'm like, guys, you can call me whatever you want. I was never one of these people that believed that foreign policy had to take a back burner or should take a back burner simply because Biden has put America, I believe, on its heels. And I think, Stephen Mosier, let me ask you this. Just looking at your column, is President Trump, in your opinion, the best foreign policy president, at least since Ronald Reagan?
Yeah, he is, and in terms of the comparison with Ronald Reagan, and I wrote speeches, a couple of speeches for President Reagan after he left office, so I know President Reagan pretty well,
Wow.
and uh, they're on the same page when it comes to foreign policy. It's America first. It's America leads by force of its example, right? Because we have, I mean, look, people need to know that America has been a beacon of freedom in the world for the last 250 years. People don't know that the American Constitution is the model for the constitutions of about 160 countries around the world. They
Wow.
don't know that our Bill of Rights is the first Bill of Rights where a government pledged to its people that certain rights would be respected, that rights would be inalienable. All of these things we have done. We are a powerful force for good in the world simply by existing and by abiding by our principles. People aren't taught that in the schools anymore. They aren't taught to respect their own country, its history, its heritage, and how our values have guided the world for the last 2 centuries. And we were falling on hard times under Biden. I will tell you that if President Trump had not been elected in 2016, China would be the dominant power in the
I
world
believe
today.
that.
If
Man,
Clinton had taken office and then followed with another term, American industry would be destroyed. China would have taken over Taiwan. The world would be a much different place, and our children would have to live under the fear of being dominated by China. All that changed in 2016. He began to reverse it. And then he came back gangbusters in 2024. And it has been laser focused on two things: the economy and foreign policy. And people shouldn't think that President Trump can only do one thing at a time.
Amen.
You see, Biden could hardly eat his ice cream every day. Trump, Trump is, Trump is doing 20 things or 30 things at a time. He is multitasking at high levels. He can bring down the price of gas and the price of eggs at the same time that he's working out a deal with NATO and Greenland to get sovereignty over whatever part of Greenland we want. He can, at the same time that he brings down the price of houses and the price of loans for houses, he can take out Maduro in Venezuela and bring the thugs there to heal and have them release political prisoners and cut off oil to China, to China, to China. And ultimately, this foreign policy of his is really all about China. He wants to settle wars first and foremost. But remember, most of these wars were started by, encouraged by, and subsidized by China. Why did Cambodia attack Thailand? Because they were encouraged to do so by China, and they got weapons from China to do so. Trump stopped that. Why did Pakistan and India get into it? Well, Pakistan is supplied by weapons and support from China, and they welcome a conflict with India because it takes pressure off China's southern border. Everywhere you look, China is fomenting trouble. And everywhere Trump acts, he's cutting off China's tentacles,
I love it.
cutting off their effort to destabilize the world, create chaos, and replace democracies with thuggish one party dictatorships. And people need to know he can do this at the same time that he's making our life better at home.
All right, and so I love the fact that you said that, and honestly, you consider all the fires, if you will, that Trump has open. He has to. I mean, the world is literally on fire. The United States of America is literally. I got to watch my language here. I almost said something. I mean, but the way that Biden left the United States of America economically, the racial divisiveness, and there's so many things that this president wants to take care of and has to take care of. It's unbelievable to me, and his stamina to be able to do so is just absolutely amazing. Um, I do believe that he is, in my opinion, the best foreign policy president, at least since Reagan. I've only been able to read about Reagan. I mean, I was only a kid when he was president of the United States. My dad loved him. He didn't vote, ironically, but my dad loved Reagan. It was the weirdest thing. But he didn't vote for whatever reason. But he loved listening to him give speeches. You mentioned in this column of yours, um, the election of Donald. You say the second. You say the first shift began. You're talking about the world shifting basically for the second time since World War II. The geopolitical tectonic plates of the world are shifting decisively in our favor, the U.S.'s favor. The first shift began with the election of Reagan in 80 and ended in 1991. Obviously, that was the collapse of the Soviet Union. The second began with last year's election of Donald Trump. You say while it is still early days, the outlines of restored American preeminence and what it would mean for the rest of the world are becoming visible. And the world's biggest loser is clearly China. Let's talk about Venezuela real quick. We only have a couple of minutes left in this particular block. Stephen Mosier. Venezuela, the left went nuts. Even some Republicans that I talked to were like, "Oh my lord, he can't do this. This is illegal." I mean, I've read plenty of attorneys since that said no, he actually could, and this isn't unprecedented. But talk about what Trump going into Venezuela, taking Maduro out, what it did to China.
Well, what it does to China is it cuts off an important source of oil for China. It also removes a communist Chinese outpost in South America. Venezuela was the most important partner of China in South America, just the same way that Cuba is the most important partner in the Caribbean. And look for Cuba to fall before the end of the year. They're at the end of their rope as well. We've already taken care of Panama, which was another Chinese venture to try to control the Panama Canal at both ends. So Venezuela was a big loss for China, not just in terms of oil, but billions, a couple $1 billion in Chinese state of the art equipment went up in smoke. The radars, the missiles, everything didn't work. We took them all out without the loss of a single plane, sailor, or soldier. We took out Maduro, the thug who was sending cocaine and other drugs to the U.S. to kill Americans. And we left. People don't understand why we left the regime in place because we don't want chaos. We don't
Right.
want boots on the ground. We don't want to have to parachute in Machado, who is the elected leader in Venezuela, and then have her assassinated a week later by these thugs. So We've got to work with the people in Venezuela and carry out a transition which will put the people of Venezuela back in charge, which will put a democracy back in charge without causing the kind of chaos we caused in Iraq. All of that works tremendously to our favor and tremendously to the disfavor of China. China looks weak in the eyes of the world right now.
I love this. There's so much more, Stephen. If you can stick with me, there's so much more in your column that you've written about that I want to get to. The name of his column, you can find it in the New York Post. With close allies, Iran and Venezuela in crisis. In crisis, excuse me. China is scrambling to save energy and face. I want to talk about Greenland. I want to talk about NATO, World Economic Forum, Iran. So much more to get to. I'm telling you what President Trump has been able to do just using energy is absolutely astounding. We'll be back with more on the other side. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. Just a reminder to please like, share, and subscribe. Stephen, where can people find you online? Where do you prefer they go and look for you?
Well, we are at pop.org. I run the Population Research Institute, and our website is pop.org. A lot of information there about the topics we're discussing.
Okay, perfect. All right, Gabe, let me take a swig and we can get right back to it. It's crazy. I was going to play some audio clips, Stephen, but you know so much. I feel like I don't need to. So I will just I will just roll with it. I'll play them later after you leave. Okay, let's get right back to it, Gabe. Oh, my collar looks horrible. Yes. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, I'm joined by my guest, Stephen Mosier. He is the president of the Population Research Institute and the author of The Devil and Communist China. Also, get his book, The Bully of Asia, a very popular book. I'm sure it still sells well. I'd imagine, Stephen, it should. But anyway, he's been talking about this stuff forever. You can find him online, pop.org, pop.org. But I've been so impressed with President Trump's foreign policy, and he doesn't get enough credit because I know there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, we're America first. We didn't vote for Trump. We didn't vote for Trump to do all this foreign policy stuff." Guys, if you want America to be strong, and if you want America to remain the leader and America to be first worldwide, then President Trump has to take care of these fires that the Biden administration and, frankly, some lackadaisical administrations, in my opinion, overlooked. And I have been fascinated with Trump's ability. I think I have been so impressed with his foreign policy to use energy and say, okay, what is China doing? What does China need? What does Russia need even? And Trump is just using energy to take care of so many things. It's absolutely insane to me. I want to ask you a couple of questions here, Stephen, before we go even further. A couple of things that I am concerned about, and this is about society at large. When we talk about China, I am I am really concerned that many Americans don't understand how important Trump's foreign policy is because they haven't been taught that communism is bad. They don't know what communism is. They don't understand what communists do. They don't understand that it leads to places like like Iran, like we see people being slaughtered and censored, and they
Yeah.
they don't get it. And so when we say we have to defeat China, there's so many Americans. I'm concerned that look at Trump's foreign policy and what he's doing, and all they do is nitpick because they really don't understand the threat of communism. Your take?
Well, I think there are a couple of things I don't understand. You can't just position troops on the beaches of the United States. If you've got you've got to extend out our defense perimeter further than that. You can't have nuclear armed submarines 50 miles off the coast of Florida, for example, or Washington D.C. You can't have Mach 10 hypersonic missiles in northern Russia over the Kola Peninsula that would reach the United States in a few seconds unless you you can't allow that unless you have protective defenses already set up in Greenland to intercept them on the way. We have to have almost a global defensive perimeter now in order to protect the homeland. And that's one of the principal jobs of the president, of course, is to protect the United States of America. And and about energy, I have to tell you that one of the reasons why the Chinese are so shocked is because Trump is using one of their ancient Chinese strategies against them. And the ancient Chinese strategy is called taking the firewood out from under the pot. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
in ancient times, of course, it meant taking away some vital resource from your enemy, say iron, so that he couldn't make weapons. You take the firewood out from under the pot so he can't cook up trouble. Well, in modern times, the firewood is what? It's petroleum, it's oil, it's natural gas. He's literally taking the firewood out from the industrial pot of China and making China's strategic calculations much more complicated. If they lose the energy from Venezuela and Iran, they're losing about a third of their energy imports, and it would set them back on their heels and make them think twice about launching an invasion, for example, of Taiwan. And the other thing Trump does is he also channels the ancient Chinese strategist. We call him Sun Tzu. And Sun Tzu said famously, he said, fighting 50 battles and winning 50 battles is not the height of military strategy. The height of military strategy is winning without fighting. And what Trump is doing is he's winning without fighting. And the Chinese leadership just must be agonized over the fact that he's using their ancient strategies against them successfully. You can't carry on modern warfare without access to energy, and he's denying them that.
Stephen, I love how President Trump said, and I have the clip somewhere, but I can't find it on the on my clip sheet right now. But basically, where he told China, "Listen, you guys can buy oil. You can still buy oil from us." I love that. That is called American dominance, and honestly, that's what we've been searching for forever. I do want to play a clip real quick before I delve back into your article, Gabe. If you could get cut number 37. I want you to hear what Secretary Scott Bessent had to say to a lot of these our NATO allies at Davos. And I got to ask you a question about NATO in general, Stephen, after you hear this clip. So cut number 37 as soon as you can, Gabe. I'd appreciate it.
And just to be clear, that we have Europe buying Russian oil still 4 years later. They are financing the war against themselves.
Okay, so that's Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent. Here we have our NATO allies complaining about what Russia invading Ukraine, but they're still buying oil 4 years later from Russia. I mean, essentially funding their own destruction. I don't think that we should leave NATO. That isn't my argument, Stephen. But how legit is NATO right now? I am seriously concerned. I am so glad what President Trump did in Davos. I didn't agree with all the tactics with Greenland. It worked out. Worked out in the end, although we didn't get quite as much as we wanted. But nonetheless, it seems to have worked out. But NATO in general, isn't he right to call these people out? They are going to be destroyed, and then they want us to come to their rescue.
Yeah, we're paying for most of the war in Ukraine. We're sending in all sorts of equipment and financing Zelensky's government, and and our NATO allies in quotes, are working against us by buying oil from Russia,
It's
mostly on the
insane.
black market, and funding Putin's aggression against Ukraine. So we're working at cross purposes there. That's not how you expect allies to behave. But look, I mean, NATO was set up after World War II because we wanted to rebuild Europe. Europe was devastated. Everything, was devastated. Berlin, all the way Paris, London had been bombed. So we set up NATO to protect Western Europe while it rebuilt. It rebuilt. We tore down the Berlin Wall, and then 2 years later, the Soviet Union fell. So really, the original reason for NATO is now gone. Now, I want to see a world in which Russia comes back to its Western roots.
Hmm.
Russia historically was a Christian country. Russia was evangelized in 1000 AD. It's been Christian for 1,000 years. They are naturally members of the West. They're not naturally close to China. We have
Wow.
to drive a wedge between China and Russia because we don't want China to have access to Russia's enormous natural resources, creating once again this monstrous, Sino-Soviet alliance that we faced in the 50s in this new century. So we need to end the war in Ukraine. We need to bring Russia back towards the West, and we need to isolate China, and that's going very well right now.
Okay, let me ask you about this. Going back to your column, one of the lines that you wrote in it was this, and I quote: "The obliteration of Venezuela's entire arsenal of Chinese-made weapon system and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro was a tremendous loss of face for China and Xi." Honestly, every single country that has purchased weaponry from China has to be wondering if they can defend themselves against the United States. Every dictator, little wannabe Pol Pot or whatever.
Well, and remember that the Chinese Communist Party sold these weapons, promising that they would defend against the most modern Western technology, by which they meant American technology, of course. So these weapons, these radars, these missiles, and so forth, were specifically designed to defend against the United States. And guess what? They failed. They failed miserably. They didn't even get off a single shot. I mean, it's just amazing how well we were able to take them out. And so China's weapons exports are going to plummet because who wants to buy weapons that won't work in the event of a conflict?
Are you able to stay with us for one more segment, Stephen?
Sure, let's continue our discussion.
Okay, yeah. I want to. How much time do we have here, Gabe? Okay, so we have a minute left in this block. I'm asking Stephen to stay with us for another segment because I want to make sure that we discuss Greenland. I want to make sure that we discuss Iran. But you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. My guest is Stephen W. Mosier. He is the president of the Population Research Institute, the author of The Devil and Communist China, The Bully of Asia, as well as other books, quite frankly. And I always love reading his work. I love listening to him. He's been on Brian Kilmeade's show, Fox News Radio this week. I heard Kilmeade said you'll be on Sunday as well. So you guys have that to look forward to. You'll be able to see him on the Salem News Channel this weekend as well, or invite your friends to watch this particular interview. We've got more that I want to cover after the break because he's written a fantastic column in the New York Post entitled "With Close Allies, Iran and Venezuela in crisis, China is scrambling to save energy and face." And I'm just telling you guys that, listen, what President Trump has been able to do with foreign policy is put out fires that have absolutely amazed me. I never expected to vote for Trump and have him be this good at foreign policy. He has a knack for it like nothing I've seen, with the exception of reading about Ronald Reagan in the past. This is the Carl Jackson Show. We'll be back. Okay. One more and we'll get you out of here, Stephen. Really appreciate you. All right. Let's go ahead and roll it here, Gabe. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. I just couldn't let Stephen Mosier go that quickly. He is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to foreign policy. And again, we're going through his column with close allies, Iran and Venezuela in crisis. China is scrambling to save energy and face. We've talked about Venezuela, the impact that that attack on Maduro's compound, where literally Maduro didn't even have time to get to his safe room. You literally have one of the security guards saying we had never seen anything like it. 20 guys descend from on high. They use some type of sonic weaponry or something. And it seemed like they were firing like 300, I'm paraphrasing, 300 rounds each. I mean, killed hundreds of them. And we didn't lose a soldier. Some were wounded, but thank God they're safe. But what happened with that particular raid is now that set China back. That set China back big time. Do you think China, Stephen Mosier, is rethinking strategies for Taiwan, for taking Taiwan at this point? I mean, it's going to be really hard to take Taiwan if you can't get your hands on the amount of oil needed to wage a war.
Yeah, and it's also going to be very hard to take Taiwan if your own population is unhappy with your governance, because the
True.
decline of the export sector in China has caused millions of workers in China to lose their jobs. They're going back to their towns and villages, but there are no jobs waiting for them. There's no land for them to farm. So there's a huge and growing population of people in China who are unemployed and disaffected from the government. And people need to understand. You mentioned communism early in the show. You know who controls the wealth of China, and it's not the 100 million members of the Chinese Communist Party per se. You've got to join the party to get ahead, of course. But there are 500 families in China that date their relationship to the Chinese Communist Party back to the 20s and the 30s.
Wow.
Those are the elite families. Those are the princes and the princelings. And the 500 families control nearly all of the wealth of China. So communism is not a matter of achieving equality. Communism is a matter of creating a fantasy in the minds of people that one day we will all be equal. Meanwhile, you steal everything that isn't tied down for your own use, for your own family. That's how it works out. That's how it worked out in the Soviet Union with the nomenclatura. That's how it worked out, is working out in China today. It's just the history is a fabrication of communism. The ideology is a fantasy, and it's a shame that people who have nothing and think they're going to benefit from communism wind up having even less because even their freedom is taken away from them.
Hmm. Uh, Iran. I want to talk about the Middle East. Iran. Obviously, people are being slaughtered there. I saw a message that a friend of ours wrote on Instagram. So one of her family members was able to get a message to her, and literally, this person on the ground in Iran believes that there's been at least 50,000 people that have been slaughtered. And obviously, we don't know the numbers, but according to this person, people are absolutely uh, people are just absolutely terrified at this point in time. And people that are wounded, that are going to hospital, some of them are ending up dead. So some people are scared to even be treated for wounds, and these people are in complete. They're completely paranoid, and the Ayatollah, they're losing their grips of power. I hope to God that Iran fails. I hope the Ayatollah falls. I'm I understand that there's fear and trepidation about, well, who will replace the Ayatollah and the IRGC, and I'm like, perhaps somebody less evil, less, less evil than them. I don't know. I'd be willing to to take that bet. But what do you see happening with Iran? Even frankly, even with Russia, with the price of oil dropping under the Trump administration, these nations are in serious trouble, aren't they, Stephen?
They are. I mean, one way to think of Russia is as a gas station with nuclear weapons. And if the gas station isn't selling as much gas or isn't making as much money when it sells that gas, then they're going to fall on hard times and be unable to fund their continuing aggression in Ukraine. So it all comes back to energy at one level. What's happened in Iran breaks my heart. I mean, it's been languishing under this thuggish dictatorship now for a half century. The Iranian people uh, deserve better, obviously. Tens of thousands of people have been killed. It kind of reminds me of Tiananmen, after the Chinese Communist Party killed 10,000 people in and around the central square of the city of Beijing, the capital city of China. They then went the next day to the hospitals and they took all the wounded out, and the wounded were never heard from again. So the total
Mm.
death toll was double or triple the actual number of people killed on the first day because they killed all the witnesses, you see. And that's what the Ayatollah and his thugs are trying to do, I think, in Iran. They're trying to kill all the witnesses, all the people who were victimized by the brutality but not quite killed. They're ensuring that they don't survive to tell their tale of how they were victimized, terrorized. Whatever shreds of legitimacy the Ayatollah's regime had before this, it's now gone. I mean, they are well and truly a pariah state now, like North Korea, for example, and no one with any decency is going to want to work with them. Hopefully, this will dry up funding to Hamas in Gaza. It will dry up the funding to Hezbollah in Lebanon and Syria. It will dry up the funding to the militias in Iraq, which are still destabilizing that country, and to ISIS in northern Iraq. And a stable Middle East could be the result of, it will be the result of the fall of the Ayatollah regime, but it may already be beginning because the Ayatollah has problems closer to home and can no longer afford to support these terrorist organizations overseas. So we can pray and hope that the Middle East will become a much more stable place. And China again will lose its chief ally in a region. Having lost Venezuela in South America, it's now going to lose Iran in the Middle East. And soon enough, it's going to be China alone. And China alone, we can deal with.
I love that, and frankly, for the naysayers out there, Stephen Mosier, that would say, "Listen, we shouldn't be concerned about the Middle East. We have no business, messing around with with Iran. That's none of our business." I just think people are so naive. Of course, it is. They believe that we're the big Satan. They believe that Israel is the little Satan. And frankly, with the Ayatollahs out of the way, we don't really have to. As you mentioned, I mean, these people are they're proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, with these, crazy, insane Islamic thugs out of the way. Americans don't have to necessarily worry about going overseas to fight wars in the Middle East. Isn't that what Trump seems to be doing
Oh,
with
absolutely.
all of these
Yeah.
taking on all these deals?
Absolutely, and we're not going to see any major new Trump troop commitments. I think anywhere in the world, we're going to see surgical strikes. Perhaps we're going to see the removal of a dictator, as we did with Maduro. We're going to see the use of energy and financial weapons, tariffs, to bring down these regimes, or at least cripple them to the point where they can no longer stir up trouble in their regions. And all of this is very, very good. I mean, look, I was traumatized as the next guy by our endless wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan. I had sons serving in that theater for years.
Oh wow.
They're no longer there because we've withdrawn from those countries. We don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. But this is not about going back. This is not about being the policeman of the world. This is about making America safe and secure by crippling America's primary enemy in the world, the People's Republic of China, which wants to destroy us.
I almost feel like this, Stephen. I feel like if President Trump can make sure that we're safe from enemies abroad, it's going to be much easier to deal with a lot of the craziness that's happening right here in the United States, ergo Minneapolis, and all that kind of nonsense. So I just feel like this is so crucial. And it is so absolutely important. Man, I wanted to play another clip, but now, for whatever reason, I have so many clips, I can't seem to find the clip that I wanted to play for you. Let me get your take on the World Economic Forum in general. Are these people just clowns? Has that thing just uh, do you see a resurgence of the World Economic Forum with Trump? I mean, I'd imagine that if a Democrat got elected and went to the World Economic Forum and bowed down to those people at this point, they would look really weak, wouldn't they? And then let me get your take on Greenland.
I mean, look, this is the globalist elites getting together to plot how they're going to take wealth away from the middle class, from ordinary people, and funnel it upward into their own bank accounts. This is about reorganizing the world by very smart and avaricious people, greedy people who want to monopolize power and control, and kind of in the same way that the Chinese Communist Party monopolizes power and
Yeah.
control. Maybe not as quite as blatantly or quite as using the military. But these people want control. And this the tone at the World Economic Forum this time around was completely different. Everyone was saying, even the people, even the Klaus Schwab in charge of the World Economic Forum was saying, we need to listen to the people more. We need to understand these populist movements. I mean, the whole world is shifting. The global tectonic plates are shifting in favor of liberty, in favor of freedom. And God bless Donald Trump.
Oh man, and I hope we don't let it go. And listen, we don't have enough time, sadly, to cover Greenland. I don't know why I didn't mention that early and up front. But really, I appreciate it. I listen. I believe that Greenland, whether you like the tactics or not, it is absolutely necessary to protect our
Yes.
best interest and NATO's best interest. Stephen Mosier, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you, as always. Always a wealth of knowledge. God bless you.
Thank you, God. God bless you.
All right. Stephen, if you'll stay up with us for just a second here to make sure Gabe has you up. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you please check out Stephen Mosier, pop.org, pop.org. You can purchase his books, Amazon, wherever you go to get books. The Devil in Communist China, The Bully of Asia. That's actually when I first learned about Stephen Mosier's with that book, The Bully of Asia. And then I can't remember where I saw him in an interview, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then I had him on. His knowledge is just absolutely just insane when it comes to Asia. So anyway, Stephen Mosier, God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, good to go. Guys, again, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We're on Apple, we're on Google, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube as well. Please like, share, and subscribe. We would certainly appreciate that. Por favor. That would mean a lot to us. Help us to expand our territory. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Stephen Mosier. We're actually going to be having another guest join us momentarily. So I would, you know what? Are there any questions out there, Gabe? And we can bring. Why don't we tackle those, and we can bring in Jim Nails early if he's okay. All right. Okay. And strategic geopolitical, play the game of risk. That would be at least an inkling of understanding. And geopolitical, play the game of risk. Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying that people should play the game of risk so that they would gain an understanding? I must admit, I've never played the game of risk. Care just low prices for trinkets and such. That's what they care about. Yeah, it really concerns me that a lot of Americans don't understand, and frankly, so many college graduates, because obviously they're indoctrinated. So many of them, when they go to these colleges and universities, they're indoctrinated into socialism. They fall in love with that. They fall in love with communism, and it's absolutely insane to me and scary to me that they do so. Why don't we do this? Why don't we bring our guest in early, and we will get right into this other podcast, simply because we had some technical difficulties at the beginning of the show communicating with Stephen Mosier. So we'll bring Jim right in, and we'll get started on another podcast because we've got so much to talk about, including what's happening in Minnesota. I want to talk to you about the theory of stupid, which you may or may not have heard about. Uh-oh. Is he having issues as well? Okay. 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 Guys, I appreciate you being patient with us. I promise I've got another good several segments ahead here. We are having some technical difficulties like nobody's business right now. And it is weird. We've had it with both guests so far. And so let me just shoot him a text real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do we see him? Do we have him?
Here we go.
All right. There we are.
Hey, guys. Sorry.
Hey, no worries, Jim. We're already live. We had technical difficulties with the prior guest. It was the craziest stuff. So we had, oh man. So anyway, so we're already live. So this is Jim Nails. We're going to get into more conversations about, man, I can talk about 1,000 things with Jim, and we will probably hit some of those things. Jim, have you ever heard of the theory of stupid by Bonhoeffer?
I'm familiar with stupid people, but not the theory of stupid. How's that?
Hey, listen, he literally, my brother-in-law. Oh man, don't tell me I lost it. My brother-in-law, sure, yeah, the theory of stupidity by Bonhoeffer. At some point, probably once we get offline together, I'm going to read through this for the audience. And guys, I am telling you, it sounds crazy, but it is so It is so encouraging. Because obviously Bonhoeffer was just a godly man, conspired to take out Hitler, he and some other guys, and ended up dying or being executed as a result of it. But he was a devout believer, a man of action, and it is impressive. He was pragmatic and practical as well. And he literally wrote a memo on how to deal with stupid people or not deal with stupid people, and how they're stupid intellectuals and stupid. It was phenomenal. And I'm like, this puts so much into perspective. of what we're dealing with right now. It's absolutely amazing. But anyway, okay, we'll get right into this, Jim Nels, because we've got I've got like 1,000 cuts that I'd like to display as well, and so much I want to get your take on. So we'll get started right
Sounds
away
good.
here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. You are watching the Carl Jackson Show. Please, again, please like, share, and subscribe. We would certainly appreciate that. Wherever you go to get your podcast. Also, please, all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find us. All right, Gabe, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling, por favor. All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. We're back. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I am joined now by our next guest, Jim Nels. Jim Nels is an economist. He's also a supply chain expert, and we have a good time talking with each other, discussing some of these things with each other. But again, Jim is an expert when it comes to the economy, all things economy. So we're going to be talking about the economy, but we're also going to be talking about things that are transpiring in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Jim really wanted to sound off on this. So, Jim, listen, there's been some good news today. We've seen that these bullies that literally terrorized a church on Sunday, many of them have been arrested. Let me just get your take on that and what's happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in general.
I'm glad they've been arrested, and I really hope that they're prosecuted under either the FACE Act or the KKK Act. Joe Biden loved to use the FACE Act to arrest and try pro-lifers who would go in front of an abortion clinic and pray for the souls of the babies that were being killed. And so there's no reason why they can't prosecute people who interrupted worship during a service on a Sunday and wanted to prove a political point. Carl, could you imagine if you and I showed up at a mosque or an AME church in our MAGA hats? Keith Ellison, the AG of Minnesota, would have us in jail right now.
Yep.
The fact that he comes out and says that this doesn't fall underneath the FACE Act or the KKK Act is a joke. I'm glad Pam Bondi is looking at this. I'm glad that the other people within the Department of Justice are looking at this. It's the right thing to do. We have to stop accepting this type of behavior from the left. We have to start prosecuting them the same way they prosecute us.
Honestly, if we don't, Jim, it's only going to get worse. I mean, what we see happening in Minneapolis, you see it spreading. It was already happening in LA, but it seems like people are getting even more violent, more ICE agents, more people attempting to run over ICE agents. I'm sure you saw the video of one of the ICE agents that happened to be Latino. We're like, we're literally going to arrest a child rapist, and you guys are hunking at us, blocking us. I mean, this is insane. This is who you're sticking up for. That's who Renee Good died for. I mean, it's so tragic that she died, but frankly, it was the dumbest way to go out. Nobody in their right mind, all of these people, in my opinion, that are oh my god, the cop shouldn't have done this. Oh, he wasn't hit that bad. And I'm like, fool, let's just be realistic here. No one saying that would have been dumb enough. And I hate to say this because I know she's dead, but I don't think any of these people complaining even would have been dumb enough to run over a cop because they didn't do it. I mean, that's just common sense. You're going to get shot if you run over a cop. I don't get this. And trying to make her a hero is just absolutely insane. I feel bad that she's dead. She's got a loving loving father, loving family that's still alive and all this kind of stuff. I even think her lover should be brought up on charges for saying "drive, baby, drive," in my opinion. But anyway, that's just me ranting a little bit. But you said you wanted to talk about
Let me put it this way. You may not have guessed this, but both of my children are white, and I taught them how to interact with the police when they started driving, right? And the number one thing that you never do with a police officer is try to litigate on the side of the road. If the police officer says get out of the car, you put the car in park, you turn off the car, you say yes sir, yes ma'am, and you do exactly what they say. You litigate in court, not on the side of the road, and you definitely don't try to run them over when they're trying to stop you. And you know what? I know it's a tragedy that a woman is dead, but if she cared so much about her family, maybe she should have been home with her kids as
Yeah.
opposed to out there harassing ICE agents.
I mean, it's painful to hear, but it is so true. You know, I again, I'm tempted to read. Let me just read a part of this theory of stupidity, just the first paragraph, because I really think it's extremely important. Because guys, what we're going to be facing leading up to the 2026 election cycle, obviously Trump is bad. You know, we're going to see the craziest stuff. Democrats don't have policies that they can run on, so it's all going to be Trump is bad, right? Trump is a racist. It's the same old playbook: rile you up, get you mad, and it goes nowhere. So let me just read part of this, and then I want to get to some of the economic issues. There's some things that Trump is doing that I think are. I love the fact that he's really trying to make life more affordable. There's some things that I think he could do differently or better. And I know Jim has some points on that as well, and that's why I wanted him on to talk about this. But let me just, I'll just start part of this. I'll read some more later after Jim is gone because I don't want to take too much of his time. I want to get to the nitty gritty of the economy, World Economic Forum, so on, etc. But listen to this. This is the theory of stupidity by Bonhoeffer. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. One may protest against evil. It can be exposed and, if need be, prevented by use of force. Evil always carries within itself the germ of its own subversion, and that it leaves behind in human beings at least a sense of unease. All right. So China, Iran, all right, evil. None of us feel okay with that type of overt evil. But listen to this. He goes on. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. This is so good. Neither protest nor the use of force accomplish anything here. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Facts that contradict one's prejudgment simply need not be believed. In such moments, the stupid person even becomes critical. And when facts are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental. Guys, have you been experiencing that when you talk to leftists, when you talk to liberals, whether it's friends, family members? Just a couple more sentences here. And all this, the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is utterly self-satisfied and being easily irritated becomes dangerous by going on the attack. For that reason, greater caution is called for than with a malicious one. Never again will we try to persuade the stupid person with reasons, for it is senseless and dangerous. That's the first paragraph. Long paragraph, but first paragraph, Jim.
You know, he said it much more eloquently than I can, but I'll just say it this way. You can't fix stupid. And, you
That's
know,
it in a nutshell.
trying to argue with stupid is trying to argue with it's like watching a drunk with a gun. Eventually something bad is going to happen, right? So, you have to ignore stupid, but that's also part of the beauty of a leftist, right? The leftists don't care, right? You can have a video of Chuck Schumer hanging out with Putin in Brooklyn, New York, eating donuts. You can have a video of Schumer calling for the closing of our borders, and then he changes his mind years later, and he's like, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was someone else." And it's like, guys, it's right here on video. Wasn't me. Didn't mean it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. And so you can't try to reason with these people. You have to just go forward with full blunt trauma, basically. And that's why we need to prosecute these folks who burst into that church on Sunday, because they need to be taught a lesson. And stupid people, sometimes they have to touch the hot stove 2 or 3 times before they recognize that the stove is hot when it's red.
And honestly, I believe it's going to happen. So, from what I understand, if I recall correctly, that's exactly what Harmeet Dillon. I posted this earlier. I don't have time to sift through it, but that's exactly what Harmeet Dillon basically said they're going to be charged for. The FACE Act and the KKK Act. So basically, the FACE Act. I'm just reading from Wikipedia. The Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which is the FACE Act, enacted in '94, is a U.S. law that prohibits violence, threats, intimidation, and property damage against individuals seeking or providing reproductive health services, as well as those exercising their First Amendment rights at places of religious worship. So some of the lefties were saying, oh, that only applies to abortion. And it's like,
No.
oh, no, you didn't read the rest.
Yeah.
You know,
They're good at reading the first sentence, not the second sentence, right?
So these idiots just broke a federal law because they didn't read the entire FACE Act, I guess. But they're also going to be, I love this, lefties, even that black chick that organized.
The fact that Minnesota Black Lives Matter people are going to be charged under the KKK Act is the ultimate of ironies, and I love it. And I'm going to fall asleep laughing tonight when I do.
I wish their jail suits were clans outfits. That would only make it better. But honestly, guys, this is nonsense, and we cannot put up with this nonsense. You can't. What makes America great, what makes America exceptional, is the rule of law. Our Judeo-Christian values, no doubt about it, obviously. But because of our Judeo-Christian values, we have the rule of law. We have a rule book, so to speak. So if you have people breaking laws and people aren't punished equally by those laws, then America just goes to pot, and we cannot allow that to happen. So I cannot be happier for those people. I don't think Don Lemon has been arrested. I was hoping that would be the case. But honestly, it is what it is.
I mean,
All right.
Don Lemon is now basically turned himself into a joke, right? He is the punchline of every leftist joke that there is. And the fact that he was there and part of that, hopefully he'll be charged under the same thing. He'll claim he was a journalist recording what was happening, but at the end of the day, he was part of the protest as well.
I tell you what, that theory of stupidity was written for people like Don Lemon. I'm not trying to be mean. The guy just doesn't have a brain up there. All right. You are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. We will be back with more. Jim Nails is my guest. Okay, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to the show. Let me talk to you about My Pillow. This past year has been one of the hardest, or last year was one of the hardest for My Pillows, My Pillow in history. And it's because of loyal listeners like you that they're still standing strong. To show their appreciation, they're still offering their Christmas special savings that are exclusive for my listeners. Right now, you can get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for just $29.98. You can get the My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98, and a variety of blankets, comforters, and duvets starting as low as 25 buckaroonies. Plus, there's a major blowout deal on the standard My Pillow, just $14.98. Guys, I don't sleep with any other pillow. God's telling the truth. I am not joking with you. Otherwise, I go nuts. I just do not feel comfortable. So visit mypillow.com or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Use the promo code Carl. I spell it C-A-R-L, not like the communists, to unlock these wholesale prices. That includes the standard My Pillow, originally $49.98. Now it's just $14.98, guys. So go out there and get it. The queen sizes are marked down to $18.99. The king is just $1 more. You already know My Pillow products come with the 10-year warranty, but now they've announced their incredible update, which is going back to Christmas, their 60-day money-back guarantee that's extended all the way through March 1st. So if you don't like their products, you can send them back. But I know you won't, because you will love them. MyPillow.com, promo code Carl. Okay, let's get this thing restarted. I want to get right back to my guest, Jim Nails. We've got a lot to cover here. And time just flies so fast, especially with Jim on. So, all right, let's get to rolling here. Gabe, por favor. I think my Spanish is getting better than yours, Gabe, if I'm being honest.
You sound fluent, Carl. Start calling me Carl the Cuban.
Gabe didn't seem to believe that for some reason. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I'm joined by my guest, Jim Nails. Jim, tell people where they can find you. Obviously, you can find his columns on Daily Wire, Washington Examiner. Where else should people go to find you?
Daily Wire, Washington Examiner, and also on X at Real Jim Nails.
All right, so at Real Jim Nails, and you spell Nails Nelles. So make sure you check him out. And again, I like him because he's not just an economist, but a supply chains expert. I didn't even know that existed, but it totally made sense. Once I heard about it, I was like, oh, yeah, that would be pretty cool. So anyway, I love his take on matters. Let me just get a general take of yours what you witnessed at the World Economic Forum. Is there anything specific that may have stood out to you, Jim?
Well, I think there were a couple of things. One is Trump totally owned the World Economic Forum this year. And if you've noticed, they shifted their discussion away from DEI, away from climate change, and it became about world governance and the domination of the United States. So Trump getting over there and getting the Palestinian issue done, also getting the Greenland deal agreed to in principle without having to actually pay for Greenland was great. But I think the best part of it for me as a fan of making fun of people was watching Secretary Bessent just totally own the governor of California and shame him to the point where they even canceled his speech because no one wanted to hear what the guy had to say. Gavin Newsom is just the human Ken doll. He thinks he's going to be president. He's not going to be president, but he's trying really, really hard. He's trying to be the leftist Trump, and it doesn't work. He doesn't believe, I think, half the things that come out of his mouth. And this just showed how the world has changed under the Trump administration versus the Biden administration.
Oh, here it is. You know what? Let's play this because it's cut number 35 here, Gabe. And I just honestly, that was the best. That was the best takeaway from Davos for me. Listen, I appreciate what's happening in Greenland. We just talked to our prior guest about that. That is extremely important. Obviously, Greenland, everybody talks about the rare earth minerals. Could Trump have handled it differently? Did we get as much as we wanted? Not necessarily so, but we did get a lot. We did move the ball. It is crucial for our national security as well as NATO. As Trump said, if missiles come flying from some of our enemies abroad, they're probably going to come over Greenland. So it makes total sense. This is something that other presidents wanted to do, did not get done. The technology didn't exist. It exists now. So I absolutely love it. But let's play cut number 35 because this is the best troll or own I think I've ever seen, Jim. And I'm not even joking. Cut number 34. Por favor, Gabe. 35. I'm sorry. Cut 35.
I think it's very, very ironic that Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros, and the Davos is a perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry, and I'm sure the California people won't forget that. And I can tell my message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And I was told he was asked to give a speech on his signature policies, but he's not speaking because what have his economic policies brought? Outward migration from California, a gigantic budget deficit, the largest homeless population in America, and the poor folks in the Palisades who had their homes burned down. He is here hobnobbing with the global elite while his California citizens are still homeless. Shame on him. He is too smug, too self-absorbed, and too economically illiterate to know anything.
Now,
thank you very much.
Let me know if you need any further clarification.
Now, that was in reaction to Gavin Newsom calling him smug earlier. I have never seen Gavin Newsom was in the audience, if I'm not mistaken, at the back of the room. Could you imagine, Jim, flying that far just to be trolled? If I'm the Republican Party, Gavin Newsom is going to run for president. Everybody knows what he's doing, or at least in the Democratic primary. That's the ad that I run. I mean, that was a 4-finger slap back and forth like I've never seen before. It was so well done. And he just made Gavin Newsom look like the foolish jerk he is.
And it was done with such dry humor, right? Now,
Yes.
I do think the secretary got one thing wrong.
Okay.
Gavin Newsom has done one thing economically. He has made U-Haul rich because U-Haul is making a fortune moving people out of California to places like Tennessee, Florida, and Texas. So he's been very good for U-Haul, but not for anybody else within the state.
That is, I mean, I can't stand that that guy has just literally destroyed that state. And I'm shocked that so many people, I shouldn't be shocked that so many people voted for him, but it goes back to the Bonhoeffer's theory, the theory of stupidity. And honestly, I think that's what, frankly, I think that's what we see taking place in Minnesota. And frankly, in Virginia, a lot of the Virginia voters, I'll get into that later. You guys are not getting what you voted for. And as a result, Virginia is going to be screwed as a result of it. So I hope there's a lot of Vaseline in your, I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's too late. But anyway, you guys messed up royally with Abigail Spanberger because obviously it's Northern Virginia. You got a lot of the government employees working there. Well, you guys are going to pay for it too. And I hope you get everything that you've asked for. Jim, let me ask you a couple of questions about the economy.
Sure.
And then I'll play some more clips a little later from the World Economic Forum because there are some goodies out there. Trump does want to make things more affordable. And obviously, there's some questions as to whether a president could do that in general. But it seems to me Congress is so feckless; they're not willing to take on their responsibilities with the economy. So I appreciate the things that Trump is trying to do, but when it comes to one thing that President Trump wants to do is we talked about this the other day when it comes to housing. BlackRock, and I believe he's already signed an executive order to make sure that these major hedge funds, BlackRock, et cetera, are not allowed to buy these single family homes. But that's a very, very small portion of of the housing market. I mean, they impact a very small portion of the housing market. So explain that if you would.
So yeah, so he doesn't want private equity firms and other commercial organizations being able to buy single family homes. Your point is well taken, Carl, that they represent a small percentage of the total home purchases in the United States, but they do represent an over exaggerated percentage in the hot housing markets, places like
Okay.
Charlotte, places like Dallas, et cetera. So they are doing some things there that drive up the price. Again, as a free market capitalist, I don't like the government telling people what they can and can't buy, but I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to make housing more affordable for younger people. I was fortunate. I served in the military, and as such, I was able to buy my first house using a VA loan, no money down. So I didn't have to save up $50,000 to put down on a down payment on a house. And then once you own a house, you start to create the wealth that allows you to get the next house and the next house and the next house. I don't know how my children are going to save 50, 60, $100,000. So what I want to see Trump doing, I don't necessarily like the 50-year mortgages that he's talking about either. What I would love to see him doing, having Freddie and Fannie buy more of these mortgage-backed securities to drive down the mortgage rates. I like getting
Huh.
a new Fed chairman into the Federal Reserve on the Board of Governors to drive down interest rates is a perfect thing that we want to see done. I would like to see them try to find a way to have people only have to put 5% down for a house, but only if the monthly mortgage is going to be a certain percent of their monthly income. We don't want to go back to 2008 where people who made $100,000 a year were buying $2.7 million homes. We don't want that to happen again, but I want to find ways to get people into homes because homes are probably the fastest and best way for a young couple or a young man or a young woman to start building wealth, and wealth is what it's going to take. I don't even necessarily like the 401k thing that he's been talking about with letting people take money out of their 401k, because let's face it, Americans have the attention span of a fruit fly. So people will take out their money for their 401k, use it for a house, and then when they get to retirement age, they're like, oh, where'd my money go?
Mhm.
Right? So, we need to find good ways to get this done. I think we can do it. Again, buying the mortgage-backed securities is a great thing to do because that'll drive down interest rates. I'd love to see new loans coming out, maybe federally guaranteed loans where people don't have to put down 20% on the price of a house, only have to put down maybe 5% or put down nothing like you are able to do with a VA loan. That's the way to get people into homes. Homes are the way that people then start to create wealth, create roots, and transition neighborhoods and transition regions. And that's what really is important.
And I think another thing, we only have about 30 seconds left or so in this block. If you can stick with me for another block, I
Of
would
course.
appreciate it, Jim. All right, but and we mentioned this as well. You mentioned it with your last visit. But what's happening in Minnesota, Minneapolis? I mean, we're clearing out illegal aliens. That's going to help the housing market. People don't want to talk about it, but that is a major factor in the housing market, is it not?
It is, especially in the rental market. The fact that we have millions of fewer illegals here drives down the cost of rent because there's less demand for rent, and that's a great thing for America.
Okay. More on the other side. I'm speaking to the economist, Jim Nails. We'll be back. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Gabe, we can get right back into it here. And then maybe I'll just talk to you about what's happening in Virginia while I have you, Jim. We may as well.
Boy, they got a serious case of the "what did we do" syndrome going on.
Oh man, guys, this is oh the lesson, and I'll share this on when we're live too. But the lesson is, there is no such thing as a moderate Democrat.
Nope.
There is no such thing. Even Fetterman, I love John Fetterman. I think he is ethical. I think he has conviction. His voting record is extremely liberal, but I appreciate that he's honest. At least he's willing to work with Republicans. He understands that he lives in a purple state. The guy just has common sense, and I wish there were more Democrats like him, despite his voting record. Listen, we're not going to agree with people that are liberal, and he's beyond liberal. I mean, if you look at his voting record, the fact that Democrats hate him, they only hate him for two things. He loves Israel. He's not an anti-Semite, and he's willing to just be honest. I mean,
who would have thought that a hoodie wearing stroke survivor would become the Socrates of the Senate? And that's exactly what he's become.
Man, that is good. Okay, let's go live. We should have got that one on video.
You can
may have to say that again.
I can do it again.
All right, let's roll it. You are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe, por favor. We would certainly appreciate that. Help us to expand our reach. And don't forget, all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show, X, Instagram, and Facebook. I think I will get on TikTok. I'm a little nervous about being spied on. And then I came to the realization, you're already being spied on, Carl. So so whatever. Oh man, I hate feeling that way because I'm a First Amendment guy and I like privacy, but you don't have it anymore. It's gone. Hopefully we can bring it back in some facets. Anyway, all right, let's roll it, Gabe. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, I'm joined by my guest, or with my guest, Jim Nails, Daily Wire, Washington Examiner. He's an economist. He's also a supply chains expert. So you guys might remember during the COVID lockdowns imposed by Democrats, particularly when Biden got into office, how all of the shipping lanes slowed down. We couldn't get, it took forever to get packages. You literally had the docks of Long Beach. You had all of these, what do you call those things? The things that they transport on trucks, just like literally piled up for weeks. Containers for weeks and months. It was absolutely insane. And they were there. We just couldn't get those things that were inside of those containers out of the containers and into the market. It was absolutely insane. The communication was horrible. And Pete Buttigieg, who's going to be running for president too, was in charge of transportation. An absolute and utter disaster. But Democrats fell up. That's exactly what they do. Okay, Jim, before we went to the break, we were talking about the housing market. You'd mentioned that one thing, or we were talking about just basically how illegal immigration really impacts the rental market. Just for those that are listening, just go over that again real quickly, if you would.
Sure. So what we saw is when we have an influx of anywhere between 10 and 20 million illegals into the country, they have to live somewhere, right? And most of them were renting homes or renting apartments. As you increase the demand for rental properties, the price of the rental property goes up. Now, as Trump and his administration are starting to deport these people, there is less demand for rental housing, and therefore the price of the rent is coming down. It'll take about a year because remember, a lease on an apartment is for 1 year usually, right? So it's going to take time. If you sign that lease in January of 2026, you don't get to have it come down until January 2027. But we're starting to see that. But we're also seeing some really great stuff in the economy. We saw the CPI, the inflation rate is well below 3% and going towards 2%. We're seeing a great jobs report that came out today. We're seeing green shoots that everything is going the way that we want it to go. The price of oil, last I looked today, I don't know where it closed, but it was under $60 a barrel earlier today. That's a great thing for America. That's a great thing for Americans, because that is like a big tax decrease for working Americans. Because working Americans, their three biggest things that they pay for: food, gas, and rent.
Let me play this cut. This is cut number 38, Gabe. If you could get that ready, I'd like to get Jim's response to this. This is Trump at Davos. He rejected their climate agenda as a tool for control. That was his first trip to Davos, I think, during his first administration. But let me just get your reaction to that, because I mean, this even Al Gore is looking like a complete idiot when he goes to the World Economic Forum. And I didn't think we would get here, but we are here. So I want to get your take on it. Cut number 38, if we could, Gabe.
To embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them. And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen. They predicted an overpopulation crisis in the 1960s, mass starvation in the 70s, and an end of oil in the 1990s. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country, or eradicate our liberty. America will always be the proud, strong, and unyielding bastion of freedom.
Okay, so that's President Trump, basically, essentially there. And I'm not sure that all of that was in great context, but he was bashing the climate agenda and what these countries were doing to themselves. Talk about that, if you would.
Well, he said something really important in that clip that you just played, Carl. It's about control. And if you think about the man who used to be the chairman of the World Economic Forum, I can't remember his name right now.
Klaus Schwab.
Carl, yes, thank you. He used to say, eventually you will own nothing and you will like it.
Yep.
Right. And we will tell you what to do. You'll be Steve Bannon calls it the serfdom, right? You'll be serfs. And that's what they're looking to do. They want to tell you what kind of hairdryer to use, what type of shower head to use, what type of air conditioner, space heater, furnace, you name it. They want to be able to control every aspect of your life, because the more that they control, the more dependent people become on the government. And the more the people are dependent on the government, the more power the government has. There's a great line from a movie that says, people should not fear the government should fear the people. And that's kind of where Trump is with what he's saying, is that we're going to give control of your life back to you. You make your own decisions. And look what happened. All of the American automakers have basically given up on their EV production. They're like, no one wants these stupid cars. I live in Chicago. The high temperature tomorrow without the wind chill is going to be -5 degrees.
Jeez.
Do you think an electric vehicle is going to run in that? My cell phone won't stay charged for more than 5 minutes in -5 degrees, let alone a car. So
Wow.
it just doesn't work. And like we've talked about before, the infrastructure is not there. Now, eventually it might get there. I think that some of these EVs are really, really cool. If you've ever been in a Tesla where someone's, putting the pedal down to the metal, those things go really fast. It's fun, but I'm not ready to invest in one yet because the infrastructure is not there. And I don't want it to take me 45 minutes to an hour to, quote unquote, fill up with gas when the battery runs low.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually know a couple that bought a couple of electric vehicles, and then they decided to take a road trip and they weren't happy. they
aren't as long as you think they are, man.
Oh, it's absolutely insane what's happening here. Credit cards, capping credit cards. I got to be honest. I love what President Trump is trying to do. I struggle with government trying to do that. I think that people should perhaps listen to Dave Ramsey. Learn the money habits of your grandparents. Perhaps learn to save. Don't spend more than you have. so on, etc. And I hate credit card companies, but I'm not sure I'm for. I'm not sure I'm for that. What's your take on that?
I'm not for what he wants to do with that. And again, Carl, you know, there's no bigger supporter of President Trump than me. But what he wants to do with credit card companies, I think is wrong because it doesn't educate the people that need the education. Because all this does is it makes it easier for them to max out their credit cards and then make the minimal monthly payment. And then it punishes people like you and me who pay off their credit cards every month because now we're going to have to pay more in other types of fees, in the annual fee or other types of things, or we'll get fewer of the perks that come with having a credit card. So I don't like that. What I would love to see them do is make it, you know, unfortunately harder for people who don't have good credit to get credit. They have to, you know, learn to not spend more money than they have. And that's how I grew up, man. My parents were the ones that they got the new credit card to pay off the old credit card, right? That was that's how I learned to do home economics 101. And then when I went to school and started studying economics, I'm like, oh, that was really a bad idea. But at the end of the day, if you make it easier for people to be stupid, going back to your theory of the stupidity, if you make it easier for people to be stupid and make bad decisions, they're going to continue to be stupid and make bad decisions. I want to see us do the right thing for people, but not at the cost of me paying more on an annual fee or the government picking winners and losers in the credit card industry or in any industry for that matter. Because eventually we're going to have a liberal in office and he or she is going to make changes to how the private economy is run and we're not going to like it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great right now, but that's what I'm concerned about. Eventually, Trump won't be in office. Listen, I pray to God that a Republican or a conservative rather is in office for the rest of my life. But the chances are it's not going to happen simply because there are too many stupid voters, including the intellectuals. Do you have time to stay with me one more segment, Jim, or do you have to go?
No, man, I got all night for you.
Okay, so we'll do one more segment, but I just want to kind of wet everyone's whistle, if you will, with this. I want to talk about what's happened in Virginia. Also, I want to go back to talk about a little bit, Minnesota, the fraud that's occurring in Minnesota. But these are just some of the things. What's happening in Virginia now that these people have voted for Abigail Spanberger and the attorney, what is it, the attorney general or the state
attorney general, yeah.
Okay, so the attorney general that literally wanted to kill his opponent's kids. This is what they're looking to introduce, eliminating mandatory minimum sentences for offenses including rape, manslaughter, the assault of law enforcement officers. This is one of the first this is one of the first things that they want to do. So all of you people in Virginia that couldn't stand Trump so much that you just decided to vote against Republicans, yeah, you're screwed. You're screwed. This is going to get really bad really fast if this comes to fruition. So I want to talk to Jim Nails about this after the break. Not to mention impose a tax on every retail delivery service, including Uber Eats, Amazon, and DoorDash. I think U-Haul is going to start doing good there too, Jim. We'll talk about it after the break. You're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. We'll be back in a few. This is insane.
Oh, they are screwed, dude. I mean, totally screwed.
This is insane. Yeah. I honestly hope it hurts.
You deserve the government you elect, man. Let's just be totally honest with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right. Spirit lifted west 48. You know what? Can we come back in with cut number 48? Just some quick takes from Trump at the World Economic Forum. I got so many clips I can't play, but I think this one, yeah. We'll just come back in with it. Trump is hilarious, man. Honestly, the guy should be a comedian after he leaves office. He doesn't even really have to try that hard. He is hilarious. Nope. Okay. Yes, sir.
After 12 months back in the White House, our economy is booming, growth is exploding. Productivity is surging, investment is soaring, and the United States is in the midst of the fastest and most dramatic economic turnaround in our country's history. Over the past 3 months, core inflation has been just 1.6%. Meanwhile, fourth quarter growth is projected to be 5.4%. The United States economy is on pace to grow at double the rate that was projected by the IMF just last April. In recent decades, it became conventional wisdom in Washington and European capitals that the only way to grow a modern Western economy was through ever-increasing government spending, unchecked mass migration, and endless foreign imports. Virtually all of the so-called experts predicted my plans to end this failed model would trigger a global recession and runaway inflation. But we have proven them wrong. It's actually just the opposite.
We can
Under my
we can stop
leadership,
there.
U.S. natural
We can
gas.
stop there. Basically, what President Trump does, which he should do, he touts his victories when it comes to the economy, and the economy is going to increasingly get better, in my opinion. So just because people hate Trump, uh, they don't want to they don't want to go that route. As we see in Virginia here, Jim. So one of the things that they like to do in Virginia now, and I mean these people are moving breakneck fast. Within 6 hours, they had plans out of what they're going to do. Everything they ran on, they just basically threw to the wayside. They're not moderates, so they want to double taxes for high earners. Do you think the high earners are going to stay there and take it, Jim?
Not at all. Not at all. They will be moving to West Virginia and going to a red state like that. But maybe Carl, there's an upside here. If they're going to get rid of minimum sentences for rapists, child pornography, things like that, let's take all the illegals that they don't want us to arrest from ICE and ship them to Virginia, because then they don't have to go to jail at all, and we don't have to pay to house and feed them. Maybe that's the right answer here.
Brilliant. I hope President Trump picks up on that. Make Virginia a complete sanctuary state for illegals. All right, we'll ship them all there, all of the criminal ones. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Basically, what Abigail Spanberger is telling you, ladies, she doesn't care if somebody has raped your mother, your daughter, your sister. They want to let them out. Manslaughter. I mean, somebody's killed somebody. Let's let them out. Let's give them a second chance. The assault of a law enforcement officer, guys. Let me tell you something. If you're one of these lemmings out there that are protesting ICE or a state or local law enforcement, I understand there's some bad cops. The vast majority of cops are fine. And the vast majority of cops are only there to protect you. And they deal with situations on a daily basis that you and I cannot ever even imagine. So you have to keep that in mind. So yeah, sometimes they might be a little tense or whatever, because they're always worried about, they want to make sure that they go home at the end of the day too. They don't know who they're dealing with on the other side of their gun or their badge, so on, etc. This is insane. People are not going to want to move there. People are going to want to move out of there. But if you're dumb enough to assault a law enforcement officer, or you're dumb enough to support people that do, guys, just imagine if someone will assault a law enforcement officer that has a gun and a badge, what will they do to you? What will they? This is the dumbest stuff that I've ever seen. What's happening in Minneapolis, and now this lady under Abigail Spanberger that's rushing to make Virginia like Minneapolis. I don't get it, except that these people worship leftism, Jim. This is crazy.
They do worship leftism. And, Carl, I would encourage all of your viewers to go onto YouTube or whatever platform they like and look up Chris Rock's skit about how to not get shot by the police. And it starts with not breaking the law, right? That's the number one thing that you can do to not be shot by the police, is to not break the law. So, it's crazy, but it also goes back to Minneapolis, right? So you hear these people, or these idiot protesters saying, well, they're going into schools and they're going into places of worship and they're separating families. You know what? If Minnesota cooperated with the federal authorities and would let them come arrest these guys while they're in jail, none of this would happen.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do that. So they've created the scenario. They want this conflict. They go to bed every night praying that an ICE agent is going to shoot someone else, because that's the only thing that they have. They're trying to find that next George Floyd moment so that we can have the summer of love, right, again, and have all these protests and all these riots, because that's what they feed off of.
And it's sad, but it's absolutely true. They need that every couple of years. They need people to get mad. They don't want people to think. They just want you to be angry. They want you to hate Republicans. They want you to hate Trump. They want you to hate white people. They want you to hate Jews. It's crazy that these people continue to get elected, often projecting onto the Republican Party what they do themselves. It's just absolute insanity. Another thing that they have, what else? These are just some of the dumb things that they have. Introduce a quota. Listen to this, Jim. Introduce a quota for the use of quote small women-owned or minority-owned businesses in government contracting. So let's make government contracts racist again. And sexist.
Now, here's the thing. Can I identify as a minority woman in order to get the contract? Or do I have to like pass a gender test for that? I don't know. Something tells me if I showed up in Virginia looking like I look, they would not give me a woman minority owned business contract, even though I'm gender fluid, man. And I'm racially fluid as well. So you never know.
These people are insane. Impose a 3.8% net investment tax. Talk to us about that, Jim. This is crazy. This is day one. This is day one.
This is the crazy part about any tax on investment or even on capital gains. I already pay taxes on the money that I use to make my investments. If I take $100 and buy a piece of Bitcoin or buy a piece of Microsoft or Apple, that's post-tax dollars I'm using. Why do I have to pay tax then again on it if I make a smart investment and do that? And now they want to make it tax even heavier, just like they want to do it with the death tax. If you work hard and you save your money and you amass some money and you pass away, they want to tax your children so that they can't they can't afford to take your house. That's why we're seeing so many family farms go away, because the kids of the farmers can't afford to accept their inheritance because they can't pay the taxes on it. It's totally insane. These people deserve what they voted for, and I hope they get it good and hard.
You know what's crazy is I have a buddy that his mother owned a couple of properties in New York, and after she passed, she gifted the properties to him. He couldn't afford to keep them, so he sold them. I mean, luckily he was at least able to sell them, but nonetheless, he wanted to keep them. He wanted to grow the equity even further. He couldn't afford to do it. I mean, and they were free. It's just insane. These people are evil. The fact that you work your butt off and then you have to pay taxes again after you've already paid taxes. What for? It goes back to control. If they can make you mad, if they can make you broke, where you're always dependent on the federal government, that's why they want these illegal aliens coming into the country that aren't assimilating into the country. They want them to be dependent upon the government. That's the goal of the Democrat Party. Another one here, Jim, authorize a statewide use of speed, red light, and pedestrian crossing violation monitoring. So they want to rake in the dough by catching people on film running red lights. Basically.
They want to do that. And, I'm actually a believer that those red light cameras violate the Constitution, but I'm in the minority there because it presupposes guilt as opposed to innocence. But, at the end of the day, they need money. And, Margaret Thatcher said it best back in the Reagan era when she was prime minister of Great Britain. The thing about socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money to spend. And that's what they're going to do here. They are going to tax the people to the point where no one's there. They're seeing this in Chicago, Carl. Guess who is leaving Chicago? People like me, high income earners who look like me, who are well educated, who love the city. But you know what? I'm tired of being demonized and I'm tired of paying all these high taxes. I'm tired of being told that I'm evil. So guess what? I'm going to go to the suburbs. And the suburb is a very nice place where the taxes are low and the people are friendly, and I'm not going to get shot when I'm walking my kids to school in the morning.
I was gonna say, hey, Florida is nice, Jim, and you don't have to worry about -5 degree weather.
It's too hot down there, man. Maybe Nashville. We'll
It
see.
can get a little hot. It can. I will admit that it can get a little warm. There's no doubt about that. Last thing. You said we have there's something else. Oh my goodness, what is it? Oh, require nurses receive training to counter unconscious racial bias. All right, so you want to make sure you don't have a bunch of uh, nurses
Impure
dealing.
thoughts. I don't know how you even do that at this point, right? So,
This. I mean, the theory of stupidity, guys. Listen, this is why I don't believe that we should compromise with the left on policies. Sure, with some liberals, we just have to defeat them at the ballot box. It's going to be crucial. Jim Nails, thank you so much for joining us today on the Carl Jackson Show. Appreciate
thanks,
you, man.
Carl. Appreciate being on.
All right. Guys, I appreciate you listening to the Carl Jackson Show. I think next week I am going to do a total podcast on the theory of stupidity because that is just, my brother-in-law sent me that and I was just floored. I loved it, but I'm just going to tie it to a bunch of different stories and we can show the stupidity of the left in every single story because it actually makes you feel good. Like there's stupid intellectuals too. Yeah, there's intellectuals that have no common sense. So we'll get into that. And then there's just stupid people, just your basic run of the mill stupid people. And these are people that we try to convince, and we just can't. And so we waste a lot of time. But anyway, Jim Nails, I think you're good to go. So we appreciate you joining us. Make sure, Jim, where's the best place to find you?
Look for me at the Daily Wire, the Washington Examiner, and at Real Jim Nels on X.
Okay. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, Carl, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.
Yep. Gabe, are we uploaded? Okay, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Enjoy your weekend, Carl.
All right. God bless you.
You too, buddy.
Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. We're going to skedaddle for the evening. There was so much. So many clips that I wanted to play, but with our guests, we simply just did not have time to play them on the World Economic Forum. But perhaps I still will use what's relevant next week. I'm sure there'll be more fallout from that. Also, Minneapolis, whatever's breaking next week, I will make sure that we tackle. But there's still a lot of great cuts that I didn't get to show you that I'm sure will be great for next week as well. But again, I just want to encourage you guys, please, por favor, you can help us out by making sure that you share, like, share, and subscribe to this podcast, The Carl Jackson Show, where, again, wherever you go to get your podcast, like, share, and subscribe. That helps us out tremendously. All things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook, at Carl Jackson Show, at The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. And until next time, do not grow weary doing good, and God bless you.